Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. In today's episode, I can already tell I'm excited for just based on the topic. We're talking about building your teams faster. And I have Dr. Mike Neal with me. We're going to talk all about this. Mike, welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Hey, Brandon, thanks so much for having me.
So I love this topic because I think I'll just say it is the most crucial part to growing a business. You have to get the people right. And if you get it wrong, believe me, I've been there. I'm sure you have too. Really, really hard to recover and grow a successful business from there. So I'm curious. So this is not your background, so to speak. Where did you have this idea to build this company?
Well, I'm an eye doctor originally, entrepreneur as well. But the whole genesis of Build My Team came from our optometry practice. We were hiring wrong. We were focusing on using resumes. We had no idea that hiring for somebody's natural strengths and talents was actually a thing. And the bigger problem was we had no idea how effective it is and how profitable that can be when you adopt that approach. So we were just basically doing everything wrong. And this company came out of trying to completely and utterly solve that problem forever. And that's what we did.
I love that. And I see that with a lot of people in the medical field. I mean, you have a practice, you're trained to be a medical practitioner, whatever. It could be a cardiologist, it could be a general physician, optometrist like yourself. And there's no business school in optometry school.
None.
So tell me what that looked like. I mean, where did you find these best practices, air quotes, of just reading resumes and hiring people?
Well, that's the thing. We don't read resumes. We built an automated system that determines candidates' strengths and talents. And
I'm sorry, I meant like before you built this company.
Before.
What did that process look like for you? Because I have a feeling it actually looks a lot like most other businesses in our audience outside of the medical field.
Yeah, what did it look like? It was pulling out all your hair, death by 1,000 paper cuts from resumes. And like all joking aside, it was complete learned helplessness. No matter what we did, we still got people who were terrible. And you just end up throwing in the towel. You hear all these phrases like there aren't good people out there. All the good people are taken. Nobody wants to work, those types of phrases. And that's categorically not the case. It's just that you're looking in the wrong groups of people.
Yeah. So obviously you came to the point in your career and your practice where it needed an overhaul because the death by 1,000 paper cuts is never any fun.
For sure.
So what was that evolution, and talk to me about how you build My Team?
Yeah, I was in executive coaching at the time and looked at how companies like the Four Seasons, Disney, those types of really high-end service companies built their teams, kind of reverse engineered their process. I mean, it obviously took a while. And what I realized is they're not using resumes to make those decisions. They use assessments that measure people's strengths and talents. So we were able to build that system, built it in an automated, scalable way. And now our hiring platform for Build My Team is essentially almost completely automated. When a candidate applies to the job descriptions that we write for our clients, within 5 seconds, they get a text. And it's all done via text, takes about 10, 15 minutes, and it determines what their natural strengths and talents are. And Brandon, that's the whole game right there. When you hire somebody who you already know can do the job, you already know that they have the natural strengths and talents, that's the definitive approach to get these A players that we've all been dreaming about on your team. They may not come from normal walks of life. They may not come from a place with experience, but we measure how quickly they learn and they get up to speed incredibly quickly, no bad habits to undo. It's pretty exciting. And the impact they make on your team is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So that's what we've been able to do.
It's hard to understate the value of a true A player. And that it's
Right.
incredible when you can actually find them. But it's you
Mhm.
kind of glazed over a part that I kind of want to dig in on. You said you
Sure.
write the job descriptions for your clients.
Yeah.
That right there is further than most people go when writing their own
Yeah.
job descriptions. They go to ChatGPT and say, "I'm looking for an administrative assistant," and copy
Right.
paste, boom, it's on LinkedIn. How do you write
Yeah.
job descriptions so that they attract hopefully the right people? And then we'll get into further narrowing that down in a second. But how do you
Yeah.
start with that?
What's the language that you use? And you have to craft a job description that attracts them with that language. And then you also have to make sure your job description is going to um, describe people's impact. That's what people want nowadays is they can get a job pretty much anywhere, but they want impact. They want to know that what they do during an average day makes a difference to customers, clients, or the world. And we've really nailed that. It works extremely well at getting the types of people that we want into, as you can imagine, the top of the hiring funnel, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you're working with your clients, the companies who are doing the hiring, I'm curious how much background work do you do on them if it's a first time client to really
Mhm.
understand who would be a good fit for that role, what that language needs to be externally facing to attract the right people.
Yeah. So it starts off with a consultation call, and usually that can be done in about half an hour. Believe it or not, it's pretty quick, but it's also very intense to get that information out of the client. And we want to know all the horror stories the client's been through. We want to know all that stuff because matching these candidates to the client, we have algorithms that do that, of course, but we can make them even more specific when we know exactly what the client is looking for these positions.
Gotcha. Okay. So then for the actual hiring process, you said
Mhm.
you within the tool that you built within Build My Team, you use different assessments. Are they proprietary or are you pulling from industry established tools?
We tried to do industry established tools, and they weren't enough. So we've got a proprietary setup now, and it's also automated. At the end, we do a video interview, and that's a company that we work with, a partner of ours that handles the video interviews as part of our process. But whole thing's about 10 to 15 minutes end to end. And by the end of that process, we know the candidate's strengths and talents a lot of times better than they know themselves. And we're also able to say with about 97% certainty that they can do the job. So where this becomes really exciting is the finalist candidates are sent over to our client, and they can go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and still pick an absolutely terrific candidate.
That's incredible. So from
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
candidate pool of, I mean, what's typical? Let me toss it out for the people using your software. What's the typical application pool for any one job?
Let's say a secretary, front desk type person in a business, customer service facing, y- average can be anywhere between 1 to 300 candidates or more.
Wow.
We've had more in the past. And that's really important because we're going to reject almost everybody as part of the
Mhm.
process. And that's the key. We're not looking for the right for the needle, the right person essentially. We're looking for a needle in a stack of needles, but the right needle.
Mm.
And that's really important. So everybody looks the same from a resume standpoint nowadays, or really darn close. Um, you can't make decisions based upon resumes unless you're psychic. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Um, so with the strengths and talents approach, you're not looking at a resume. You're looking at what we call our insight report, which lists things like their speed of learning, their stress tolerance, whether they're detail oriented, how they follow process, all kinds of information. It's a couple pages long. We also take a look at really nuts and bolts things like how far are you located from the office? That's automated as well. What hours are you willing to work? You know, you can imagine you post a job for full time and you get these candidates applying that only want to work part time. And you scratch your head and you say, "Well, didn't you read the job?" And they're like, "Oh, now think of the time wasted." So another way to really think about all this is just flat out put your time wasting black hole hat on and imagine how these people can suck the absolute life out of you as a business owner and you get nowhere. Because that's hiring on an average day nowadays is getting nowhere. spinning your wheels, questioning your toner budget for your printer, printing out all these resumes, things like that. We can all joke about this, but that is the hiring cycle and the approach right now. With how we do it, you can hire somebody in an entry-level position or up to middle management with less than an hour's worth of net work, believe it or not. The
Per
initial
person or for
consultation
the
call
job?
for the job, initial
Got it.
consultation call, getting the information back from our team about the candidates, and you can pick them based upon the information that we provide. It's straightforward.
That's
Some
incredible.
clients interview them, some clients don't. That's up to the client.
Mhm. Yeah. So you're saying the process and the information gathered is so rock solid that you could potentially
Yeah.
not even have to interview that person to hire
We
them.
have clients who do that. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
They'll just ask our team who they should pick, and they move forward.
I love that so much. So then let's talk from the client's perspective, because when you're in this arena, you always get the
Yeah.
question of discrimination, right?
Of
When
course.
people answer these questions and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I was discriminated against," that sounds like a lawsuit. How do you help your clients mitigate that risk, and how do you mitigate that risk as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question. So our entire hiring system is blind, deaf, and completely opaque as to what a person looks like. You, as a client, will never know. You're not sent video interviews. You're not sent any of this information. So as far as the finalist candidates go, the couple people that we send over who are the A players, each of them could do the job. And the reason that our clients, we don't actually know internally if a person is either male or female until a guess can be made on the video interview. And it doesn't matter. That's the whole point. The entire process in terms of discrimination, male, female, pink, white, purple, green, it doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. What we have created is a way to get an A player. And let me tell you, when you have a business and an A player walks through your front door, you don't care either. It's completely irrelevant. You want the person who's going to perform. And as part of this, our system is built from the ground up to not look at that. It's not measured. It's not categorized in any way, shape, or form. We just don't believe in it. It's the wrong thing to do. And we don't believe in it. We built a system that is as robust as humanly possible to prevent that.
Yeah, I mean, as it should be. First of all, like
Of
it
course.
should not matter who that person is. It's just unfortunate that a lot of the
Right.
D and F players like to play that game and and game the system, so to speak, and are litigation frivolous.
Yeah, they're long gone out of our process.
Yeah,
I mean, these are folks who don't want to get off the couch and put their Xbox controller down to even respond to a text asking them to take action and do these assessments.
Well, I don't want to discriminate there either. I mean, that's not fair. They could be playing PlayStation or Xbox. Right? I mean, it could be either one.
Atari. Let's bring that one back while we're at it.
Throwback. Let's go way back in time.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, those folks they're not lifting a finger. They're looking for the easy road through life. And while it's a whopping 10 to 15 minutes to do these assessments, we do ask a candidate to take action, and that eliminates about half of the candidates right off the bat. So you can imagine, as you know, doing this the old-fashioned way, those 50% of the people, it's almost exactly 50%, they are the ultimate time wasters.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're probably the professional interviewers too, if I had to guess.
Yes.
Do you ever get those people that squeak through the cracks though? I mean, how do you filter out those people who interview really well? And I feel like answering the questions on your through your process would weed them out, but do they squeak through?
It does. So we weed them out. We have checks and balances on these questions to know when somebody's trying to game it, and it flags. It flags our system. And we just they exit our process and we move on. Second thing is, on the video interviews, we ask them questions. They're the same for everybody. And it's not what they say in response to the video interview, it's how they say it. It's how they're going to represent your business. Are they full of like slang, colloquialisms? Are they more formal? Well, each of those is fine, depending on what the business is looking for. Are they, there's all kinds of variations to that. I'll give you a quick example. Early on in the video interviews, we saw a lot of young women dressed incredibly nicely doing their video interview, standing in the bathtub, full formal interviews outfits on. Yep. Why were they doing that? Well, because the bathroom has a door, the kids are on the other side, incredible lighting, fantastic acoustics, and it was the only spot in their, what I would imagine would be tiny apartment, that allowed them to put their best foot forward no matter what. These are A players. They're just dripping with awesomeness. They have almost no resources. They flipped those almost no resources into a complete strength for themselves. They were able to very quickly demonstrate how fantastic they are. And we, as soon as we figured this out, that's an easy decision. Somebody does that, they're being recommended for hiring. But
I'm not gonna lie,
completely,
you threw me
but
off on that
completely
one.
counterintuitive. Yeah, completely counterintuitive. Yeah,
Yeah, I was not sure exactly where that was going to go.
yeah. It
I'm
happens
happy
over
where
and
it
over.
turned out.
Yep, happens over and over. It's quite a routine thing for our team.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so then I love this. I love this tool. I love that it makes hiring easy, because it is,
Yeah.
let's be real, it is frustrating to hire.
Mhm.
I'm not going to sit here and say there's nobody available, but
Right,
nobody wants to sift through 300 resumes for one job. That's just nonsense. So
right.
who's give me the sense of a company who's going to get the most bang for their buck, so to speak, from using a tool like this. Like what could that transformation look like based on how
Yeah.
they're hiring now, implementing build my team, and then leveraging that to streamline their hiring process and grow their company?
Oh, great question. So, first of all, it's a very affordable service. We charge per hire, not based upon what the person is expected to make or otherwise. Where we excel are on positions where you know the type of person you want. And granted, we have algorithms for things like clerical positions, all those types of managerial issues that are positions as well. If a business wants to hire a lot of one type of person, let's say a lot of administrative people or things like that, we excel in that area. If you want one person in this type of position, another person in that type of position, we can also do a great job of that, as long as we understand exactly what you're looking for. So in I'll give you an example. In the case of healthcare, if you need anybody in a healthcare position that's non-licensed, that's something we do bread and butter all day long. If you want a secretary for whatever type of business, if you want a biller or somebody to handle accounts receivable, those are positions we do all day long. That type of thing. Customer service, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to toss your website on the screen here, buildmyteam.com. Wherever you're watching or listening, we'll put it down in the show notes as well, so you can go click on over.
Thank
But
you.
I'm curious, Mike, the last question here is, to circle back to the beginning. What happened to your company, your optometry business? I assume you were the first test case. So tell me about the
Yep.
transition that you personally made.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. We ate our own dog food, in software, that's how it's described. Um, Practice went from 14 people down to 10 and a half. So we reduced the headcount by 3.5 people. We increased the gross by almost 50%, and the net went up almost 3x.
Wow.
Well, how's that possible? I was called out on this on a podcast. The listeners didn't believe. They contacted the podcaster, and I showed them our tax returns offline. So it's not only accurate, it took about 2 years. It can happen a lot faster for our current clients. But the reason being is that the C and the D players exited the team, and they were replaced by A and B plus players. And if you've never experienced having an A player on your team, I will definitively tell you they will do the work of 2 to 3 people or more. In a lot of cases, it can be more. And they'll do it for a similar or even same price as the C and D players. It also flips your culture around too,
Oh yeah.
because when you have a bad culture, the easiest way to fix that is not to buy a box of donuts or bagels. It's to remove the C and D players from the team and let your rock stars be rock stars.
Yeah, and instead of bonuses, you do Friday afternoon pizza parties. Obviously, I mean, everybody knows that. No, I love it.
All,
And
yeah.
I'm not going to question that, because I respect the people who do, but that
Mhm.
tells me that you've never experienced an A player on your team,
Right.
because I've done this for my own companies, other companies that I've been in
Yeah.
executive leadership for, and the results. Like it happens, and quite honestly, those results are I would say, average and attainable for every single person if they
Yeah.
just focused on hiring A players. So
Mhm.
I fully believe you, and I really hope more
Yeah.
people reach out and
Thanks.
use your software and help
Yep.
them grow their business. So, Mike,
Yeah,
thank
we
you for being
do.
here.
Thank you. We do one thing incredibly well, and that's it. We're not trying to do everything in HR or anything like that. It's one thing over and over, repeatedly, predictably, and thoroughly. So thank you.
I love it. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. And for those of you watching and listening, again, buildmyteam.com. It's down in the show notes below. I hope you go
Thank
check it
you.
out. Please put some effort into hiring A players. I promise you it'll make a difference. And then, even better, you can come back here because you'll have a bunch of extra time and just binge listen to Harmonious at lunch. So, benefits all of us, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Mike, we'll talk to you later. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Harmonious at Lunch podcast. Make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you're on, and we want to invite you to join us in the Small Business Success Facebook group, our private group where guests and listeners come together to grow your business. We want impact-driven entrepreneurs who are ready to go to the next level in this group so we can all share ideas, collaborate, and grow our businesses together. Go to whatif.com/group, and we want to invite you to join today. See you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.